dark of night had silenced every prisoner in Altiplano, a cruel prison. But one man had to stay awake, and it was the most feared drug lord, El Chapo. That night, he disappeared from his cell like a ghost and stunned the world once again. No man could ever imagine the possibility of his escape until he actually pulled it off. Altiplano, a Supermax prison with walls that could not tolerate trespassing, denied him any contact with the external world, kept him under constant surveillance in a cell having no daylight and no window, and permanently loaded him with a GPS tracker to his ankle. But El Chapo displayed utter disregard for all these obstacles and executed a crafty escape that became breaking news in every corner of the world. How on earth could he beat the ultimate measures designed to keep him captive forever? And what happened to him after he slipped through the cracks of an impenetrable fortress? Join us as we delve into the astonishing true story of a drug lord and uncover the secrets behind the greatest prison escape ever executed. He was first captured in the year 1993, followed by the murder of a reverend bishop during crossfire between drug cartels. The investigation held El Chapo responsible for the tragic loss of the clergyman. The murder of the most beloved bishop raised an unprecedented outcry across the country. The law agencies came under tremendous pressure, and a massive manhunt ensued to apprehend El Chapo. He was caught and put in Puente Grande prison, a facility fortified by impenetrable walls, especially designed for criminals of his class. The authorities thought he would certainly try to escape, which he did, but his timing was absolutely contrary to the expectations of the jail authorities. El Chapo found the jail a safe haven, at least for the time being, and for that reason, he stayed in jail for longer than expected because he learned that he could manage to run his cartel from prison. As a billionaire, he had enough financial muscles to buy out the jail officials, and for that, he carefully observed the staff of the prison and tried to identify the one who would swiftly accept the bribe. And that was Damaso Lopez, the jail superintendent. With Lopez on his side, he made offers to the other jail officials with tremendous confidence. The offers he made were so flattering that they found them very hard to refuse. After a little time, he had the entire jail authority at his service. As a result, he enjoyed the luxuries that no one could think of availing while in captivity, not even the entire Italian mafia. He was frequently visited in his cell by his 2 wives and his most trusted subordinates. He got the best food and choicest wines, and above all, he managed to run his cartel from the prison in the most effective way. While he was in prison, he spotted a unique opportunity that he could not forego. He realized that in his isolated moments, he could see the big picture and explore new ways of supplying drugs to the United States. Soon, he conceived an unorthodox plan that he implemented with a touch of ingenuity. His mysterious measure led to the transit of enormous quantities of drugs across the most secure border on the earth, a border preserved by a nation called the superpower of the world. The DEA and FBI had sensed an unusual increase in supply of drugs throughout the streets of America. They conducted a number of investigations, but every time, they met a dead end. In a clash with El Chapo, they only met embarrassment for them and for their departments. Despite the fact that they were highly trained and had the most advanced gadgetry of investigation at their disposal, they could not uncover the mechanism applied for such a high-volume supply of drugs. What was the magic of El Chapo? How on earth had he been able to beat the investigating agents for such a long time? Well, the reason for his remarkable dominance lied in the fact that El Chapo did not think like ordinary people did. He was never stuck in the obvious. He explored the alternatives that were hidden from the eye of an ordinary man. He was extraordinary, and his measures were always extraordinary. So, what was unique about his way of transporting drugs? Tunnels. He used tunnels for drug trafficking for the first time in the history of the crime, and he came to be known as the Prince of the Tunnels. His tunnels covered miles and miles under the ground. They started in Mexico and ended in the territory of America. It is amazing that these tunnels were dug in such a secretive way as to avoid the attention of Mexican Marines, FBI, and US DEA. The digging of these tunnels demanded complex technical expertise and resources because they were very sophisticated and can be rightly called the marvel of engineering. They were well lit with electrical bulbs and supplied with oxygen through PVC pipes in the entire passage. Moreover, they were supplemented with electric rails for the speedy transfer of their merchandise across the border. El Chapo continued operating his business from the prison with an income of $20 million per month. It was the year 2001. All of a sudden, El Chapo underwent a change. He did not want to stay in the prison anymore. Something had changed outside. What was it? In fact, that same year, Mexico passed a new law that allowed the extradition of criminals to the US government. That meant an imminent doom for El Chapo. And it is because he was charged with drug trafficking by the US government. And as a result, he was wanted in the States. And therefore, he had to get out of the prison before he was handed over to America. He was certain that soon after he broke out of the prison, an intense chase would be on. And therefore, he made an elaborate scheme in order to mislead the police who would follow him. Once he completed his plan and put everything in place, he sneaked out of the prison in no time. But how did he do that? Well, that is not something that should surprise anyone who has read out his resume. He confided his escape plan to a small select group of corrupt jail officials. He arranged a number of vehicles and made them available at different spots. Then, he bribed a very insignificant person to take him out of the jail unnoticed. Who was that person who had the power to take him out of the jail, and yet he was insignificant? His name was El Chito. He was a laundryman. He used to take the laundry from the jail in a laundry cart to clean the clothes. El Chapo got the door open through a certain official. The laundryman showed up at the precise moment and hid El Chapo in the laundry cart. The cart was taken close to a car parked outside, and El Chapo jumped into the trunk of the car at the right moment. The car drove straight to a predestined lonely spot. El Chapo switched cars. Next, he arrived at a spot where two helicopters were waiting for him. One was meant to take him to his secret shelter, and the other was only to mislead the police who were in chase of El Chapo. Breaking out of the Puente Grande prison was his first escape, but his masterpiece of breaking the prison was yet to be witnessed by the world that surprised the masses across the globe and earned him the title, the Escape Artist. But who is El Chapo? And why did he start a criminal life that offered imminent threats to his life and freedom? His history reveals he was born and raised in a poor family. His childhood was very hard, as it was marked with deep poverty and a constant feeling that he had been neglected and denied the basic rights of a child. He could not receive formal education beyond 3rd grade and was forced to labor to earn a living while he was too young. His economic endeavor at such a young age made him streetwise. He learned very cruel lessons that led him to an evil doctrine, and that is to snatch away whatever you want, either by hook or by crook. He believed society did not care for him, and as a consequence, he did not care for society. He was bent on seeking his revenge from everyone. He wanted to get the most out of life and indulge in every pleasure the life could offer. And for that, he was ever willing to damage the society without a slightest compassion. He came from the state of Sinaloa, Mexico. The region is fertile for the growth of marijuana and opium crops. In the year 1972, he ventured on to cultivate marijuana. He dived into the drugs trade with a zeal that was unparalleled. He could think of nothing but expanding his cartel. He moved up the ladder of drug trafficking at a remarkable speed. Besides that, he was a ruthless killer. He did not care for anyone's life. Deprived of mercy, he lost any touch with humanity. During crossfire with other drug gangs, he never bothered about innocent people and killed everyone who came in between. He killed without discrimination, and he did spread the poison of marijuana and opium to every corner of the world that he could possibly reach. His name, El Chapo, became synonymous with terror, bloodshed, and drugs. And before his first capture in the year 1993, he was already heading the notorious Sinaloa cartel. One of the remarkable features of his personality was his ability to instill deep loyalty in his comrades. His comrades were really ecstatic to see their boss out of jail after a long time. His freedom had, on the other side of the equation, more murders of innocent people and greater spread of drugs in America. He had his private army, and he sent them to the entire western part of Mexico. He could not stand opposition. He killed his opponents mercilessly, and his business had grown to the extent that he got $1 billion a month only from the supply of his drugs to Chicago. It had been almost 1.5 decades since his last escape from the prison. This is the year 2014, and now both the US and the Mexican governments wanted this man back behind the bars. A coordinated effort had been started. They targeted him from multiple angles and closed in on him from all sides, which meant keeping under observation his sons, wives, girlfriends, pilots, and every person who had ever come in contact with El Chapo. Once the Mexican Marines got intelligence about his presence in a certain house, and in the next moment, the house was surrounded by Marines. Their target was indeed in the house at that moment. But when they entered the house, he was gone. During their search, they found a hidden tunnel beneath a trap door that was under a fake bathtub in the bathroom. The bathtub could be opened from one side through hinges. El Chapo was ready for them with his escape tunnel. He wiggled out of the situation, but the law agencies were not ready to loosen their effort, and after 5 days, he was once again trapped in a tourist hotel called Miramar Hotel. And that is where he was caught. But this time, the Mexican government was extremely careful. He was put in the Federal Social Readaptation Center called Altiplano Prison. It is the most secure prison in Mexico. The prison and its adjacent areas have been declared a no-fly zone. The walls of the prison were built strong enough to prevent intruders from getting in the prison. The entire prison was equipped with mobile phone jammers, and above the walls were guards in towers to keep an eye on every movement. Moreover, unlike the previous prison, no jail official was ready to sell his integrity to El Chapo, which meant no favors from within the prison. The prison was no doubt impossible to escape, and in the case of El Chapo, some extra security measures were taken. Unlike other prisoners, he was confined for 23 hours in a prison cell with a GPS device attached to his ankle, and every visitor had to get a prior court approval before meeting him. And to make things worse for El Chapo, he was kept under surveillance for 24 hours through video cameras. And once again, U.S. extradition was hanging over his head. He knew he had to escape at the earliest possible time. But how? His endeavor to plan the escape and its execution was going to usher in a landmark in the history of escapes. El Chapo knew if he was ever handed over to the U.S., his chances of coming out of the prison and running his cartel would go extremely bleak. Once again, El Chapo resorted to his tunnel technology. He would escape from the prison by digging a tunnel. Yes, a tunnel. Can you ever imagine a secret tunnel that would take him in from his prison cell and spit him out a mile away? A secret tunnel that was well lit with electric power, supplied with fresh oxygen through ventilating pipes, and equipped with a customized motorcycle to be run on a rail track fixed throughout the passage. The idea sounds insane to an ordinary mind. But this was El Chapo, the escape artist who would never say never. He made a plan and confided to his immediate family, who visited him occasionally with court's prior permission. El Chapo engaged the best of his engineers. Since the Altiplano prison was erected in empty lands, the surrounding area was complete wilderness, and it was because the facility had been built for a very special class of prisoners. Just a mile away from the Altiplano, El Chapo's team purchased a property through real estate agents. The property was situated in a vacant industrial site that had been lying idle for quite some time. There was sporadic farming activity at different spots, quite distant from each other. El Chapo's men erected a barn on the land to conceal the drilling. They secretly supplied the tools for their project, and the drilling started. Their plan was to dig the tunnel that would emerge straight into the prison cell where El Chapo stayed. Isn't it a crazy idea? The secret is mysterious enough to run an inquisitive mind absolutely mad. But where there is a will, there is a way. Now, let us assume they succeeded in directing their tunnel straight into El Chapo's cell. How could they beat the surveillance that was monitoring his cell 24/7? Well, there was one spot in his cell that was not covered by the video cameras used for surveillance, and that was the shower drain. The shower drain was obscured from cameras by a 3-foot wall, and the hidden patch was just 24 by 24 in area. The next question is even harder and boggles one's mind to the last degree. How could they drill out at exactly the spot where the shower drain was located? Well, this was El Chapo, the escape artist, who could zero in on the available resources even in the most helpless situation. El Chapo had it in his mind right from the start. He had already assigned his wife to arrange a GPS device in a wristwatch, which was not a problem for a billionaire. The watch was ready in due time. During one of the visits, his wife presented the watch to El Chapo. He took the device out and fixed it in the center of the drain shower. Back in the barn, his team used their skills to work out the exact angle. The drilling was on. They soon caught the GPS signal and directed their drill towards it with ultimate precision. They also laid rail tracks and developed a specially designed bike that could travel on it. On the other hand, the US government was desperate to receive him on their land. The paperwork that was needed for transferring El Chapo to the States was well underway. El Chapo was running out of time. With every second passed by, he grew more and more agitated. But finally, the day arrived. It is 11th of July of the year 2015. The clock is striking 9 o'clock in the night. El Chapo is walking in his cell from corner to corner. A team is watching him through video cameras. He goes to the drain shower but does not reappear. The officers watching him through video cameras waited for 30 minutes, and after that, an alarm goes on. A message is passed to the guards, who are appointed at a section where El Chapo is kept. They run to his cell, which appears empty. They open the door, enter the cell, and check the drain shower. But as soon as they look at the drain shower, they meet a surprise they had never ever imagined, even in their dreams. A hole that leads down to a tunnel which is well lit, air-conditioned, and equipped with rail tracks. The Prince of Tunnels has once again shaken the world. Using the bike, he travels the tunnel in a matter of minutes and emerges at the other end. And once out of the tunnel, he flees the spot in a vehicle that had already been made available near the barn. The monster is out in the open once again. The millions of dollars, the time, and the efforts that were spent on his arrest have gone to the bin. But the two states that are directly affected by his evil enterprise cannot sit idle and let him kill the innocent people. Once again, a large-scale investigation kick starts. Drawing on their previous experience with El Chapo, this time they added a very sophisticated technology called Pegasus. It is a super-secret surveillance technology. Their determination, coordination, and restless effort brings fruit, and he is recaptured on January 8th, 2016. In 2017, he was handed over to the United States. He got a trial in New York. He was escorted to the court under the tightest security. The general traffic was banned on his route to the court, and he was closely monitored during his transit through video cameras, and with helicopters constantly watching him by hovering over his prison truck. He was convicted for drug trafficking, murders, kidnaps, adultery, and a number of other crimes. He is now a resident of the Supermax prison in California, notorious by the name the Alcatraz of the Rockies. Keeping in view his escape history, he is rightly placed in solitary confinement. He is denied any connection with the outside world. The authorities have the confidence that he has finally found the resting place for the remainder of his life. But who knows? With a fanatic genius like El Chapo, everything is possible. Do you really think El Chapo is going to serve his term in prison? Or has he got a plan to escape once again? Let us know about your opinion in the comment box. If you have liked the video, don't forget to subscribe.